Hello, and thank you so much for logging on to SA Talk today. If you are watching us on our YouTube channel, the Silver Fox Multimedia Studios channel, please remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you're watching us on one of our two Facebook fan pages, whether it's our Silver Fox Studios or our SA Talk today, please hit like and share. Today I am super duper uber excited to have two amazing women here with me. They're both friends and members of the Pink Ring Club. The first one is beautiful Shirley Swift, who is with us. She is the author of the Miracle Survivor book, and she will be telling her story today because we are in that Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And our other guest is Stephanie Franklin. She is an amazing founder and owner and operator of the Strongtower self-defense organization that actually goes out there and teaches combative warrior art. So yay, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on. So I know we have a big event coming up October 14th, and Shirley, you'll be telling your story of how you survived domestic violence. Can you tell us a story about that story now?
Well, it happened so long ago, but it's so predominant now, you know, with all the news and the NFL and all the young men that our children, you know, admire so much. I was the victim of it, and I came through it all right, and my message is to tell the girls that they can go through hell and they can reclaim their life and raise their children in the glory of God. God gave me my voice back, and I am a survivor.
And you were shot.
Yes, I was shot.
Tell us about that.
I was shot. I was working at Wilford Hall Hospital then. I had filed the final papers that afternoon to divorce my husband because he was constantly running around. He drank every night. He wasn't holding a job. And so I had signed the papers that day for him to be served. Well, he called me at work and told me that I would never live to see the next morning. So he, you know, was served. And he came out to the base when I got off work. It was like about 4:30 in the afternoon. And I didn't know he was there. I was getting ready to go out to my car when one of the ladies, one of my coworkers, ran back in the hospital. And she said, Shirley, Frank's in the back seat of your car. She said, you better ask for some help. So I called the Lackland Security Police, and they came to the front of the hospital and escorted me down to my car that was in the parking lot. It was like toward the end of it was like in the 7th or 8th row back. And when I got there, the police officer left his keys in the car, and he just left the motor running even, and he got out of the car, and I guess he thought it was going to be real fast. He's going to tell the husband to get out of the back seat of the car and go and let his wife drive home. Well, when he did that, my husband, who was sitting in the back seat, got out of the car and held the gun on the police officer. And he was like this. He had his hands in the air. He ran over to the car. I was like in a state of shock. And I was sitting in the passenger side of the front seat of the police car. And he ran over and he said, move over. And I moved over. And of course, the keys were in the ignition. And he said, drive up where my truck is parked, right? And it was on the same lane. It was on the same aisle as the police car. And so I just turned like I was a robot, you know. I just
in shock?
I was still in shock, and I didn't think about taking off. I couldn't take off. I mean, he was sitting there with me, and I just did what he told me to do. And it was 5 car lengths up, and so I stopped the car by his truck. And by then, a second police car had come around through the back And one of the officers was sitting on the hood of the second police car with his gun pointed like that, right at us in the front seat. And I remember hearing one of the officers saying, don't shoot, you'll hit the woman, don't shoot. And so I thought then he said, I told you I'd kill you, you SOB, if you ever divorce me again. And then I put my arm up like that, and that's when he shot me. And it went in my arm, out my shoulder, into my neck, 1 millimeter away from my carotid artery, 1 millimeter away. And I thought he was going to shoot me again. I remember slowly opening the door, and sliding out. Well, by then, he was sort of paralyzed himself because the officer was holding a gun on him, you know. And so he didn't shoot again. He was sort of, I guess... Stunned, right. So they wrestled him out of the front seat onto the ground. And then before I knew it, the ambulance was there. I remember a doctor who was coming out of work, putting his hand on my neck in the parking lot while I was laying on the ground, and feeling the bullet. You could feel the bullet in my neck, right next to that carotid artery.
Oh my gosh.
And so, but the entry site was what they had to, put their 2 or 3 fingers in, the ER techs, when they got me in the ambulance. They rushed me in. Had I not been at Wilford Hall Hospital, I don't think I would have made it.
No.
Because I would have bled to death.
That is an amazing story. So that story is in her book, Miracle Survivor. And the very exciting thing is that the San Antonio Public Library has just let her know that it will be available there. They accepted it. So, even if you're of modest means and you can't go on and purchase it, it is available for checkout. All you have to do is get your free library card, and you can hear this story and read about how she actually was the miracle survivor. And before this horrible event, had there been other incidences of abuse that escalated?
Yes, there had been. He would get you up against the wall and bang your head against the closet, the closet wall, and then he said, if you ever try to divorce me again, I will kill you. So I was warned, But he would, when he would get in a drunken rage, he would throw all the chairs. We lived in this house there in Valley High. We had 6 chairs around the table, and he would throw every one of those chairs through the sliding glass door.
Oh my gosh.
He was violent, had a violent alcohol. He'd get in these alcoholic rages, and if something wasn't going right that he didn't like, or if you questioned him, where have you been half the night, all the chairs would go through the window. And I think I had to take him, I know, at least twice. I left 4 different times. And then he would say he was going to change, and I'd go back. And but they couldn't fix the chairs after the second time. They were gone.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's amazing now. We live in such a more empowered time.
We do.
And so thank God we also have Stephanie Franklin here, and she actually teaches realistic self-defense, because this can happen at any point in the life. I believe the stat is 1 in 5 people will experience domestic violence, including child abuse is considered under the umbrella of domestic violence classification. And so people really need to know how to be able to defend themselves against this type of mental illness behavior, alcohol-induced behavior, any kind of drug-induced behavior, and knowing about this. So Stephanie, tell us about how you empower people so that they can, protect themselves.
Knowing that you are worth saving is huge, and it breaks my heart to hear a lot of people don't believe that about themselves. And so I want to encourage people and get them to understand they are worth that. And then the physical aspect of it is proper covering techniques, being aware of your surroundings. In general, outside of domestic violence, it's knowing what's happening. But you can also recognize an attack before it actually happens, so that you can properly get away without getting hurt.
And that's what I love about Stephanie, is that she can actually work with kindergarten children all the way up to the 80s and 90s. I understand you have ladies who are 80s and 90s coming into her place. And now you are located in...
I travel everywhere to schools, churches, businesses. And here in San Antonio, I am at, right now, Christ Our Savior Lutheran Church off of Blanco. I believe it's 5323 behind North Star.
Okay, awesome. And so there are resources. And how can people find you, Stephanie? Because obviously you are an amazing survivor, Shirley, and God bless you for being able to take that horrible trial and being able to empower others with it. But we definitely want to know where we can find Stephanie so others don't have to go through the same extent of the abuse.
The reason I called my book The Miracle Survivor is that the doctors told me I would never speak again like a woman. And I prayed that night for a miracle, and I had a miracle, because that morning before they took me back to surgery, there was a beam of light that came through the window like a laser, and it got on my neck, because they told me, you know, they did not think that I was going to be able to speak again. It would be a guttural sounds, and I could feel a crunching in my neck, a crunching, and then the light was gone. And they took me to surgery that morning.
You were touched by the Holy Spirit.
I was touched by the Holy Spirit.
Amen, amen.
I believe that.
And I am Christian, I am spiritual, and using that, you know, in Stephanie's work as well is very important, because when you understand that you are a precious child of God,
you can fight.
You can fight. You understand that you are worth protecting yourself, and you are not there to be somebody's punching bag or abuse recipient. And that's the thing is that's all about what the big event is going on October 14th. So you have to mark your calendar, October 14th at the Tri-Point Event Center, 3233 North St. Mary's, downtown. Is that correct? It's going to be very, very, very exciting. You want to block yourself out between 6 and 9 p.m. You have to come out and hear the stories. Now tell me, who's going to be at this event to help other people know about the resources in our community if they need to? And 1 in 5 people are going to be affected. So hopefully it's not you or your children, but you know what? It might be your neighbor. It might be the other neighbor. And statistics show it probably is one of your neighbors. So tell me about this exciting event on October 14th.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. We have Sheriff Susan Pomeroy is going to be our keynote speaker. And we have Monica Guerrero, who is an attorney and a former judge on the county clerk of law. And she was there for 8 years, so she handled a lot of domestic violence cases.
Wow.
And then we have
Martha
Palais, who is the CEO of the Family Violence Center, and she is going to tell what it's like to be, you know, the CEO of this huge industry that trains women, sends them to school, protects them, gives them apartments. Everything that they do now is fantastic.
Oh, how awesome.
Yeah, they do.
And I understand one of these women was herself a victim of domestic violence. Is that correct?
Yes, the Sheriff Pomeroy.
Susan Pomeroy. Really? That is so interesting, because you would think that a woman who is in that kind of a position would just always be naturally strong and able to defend. So there are points in our life where we might not be as strong, but the message is you can always get stronger.
You can always
just got to get away, and you got to survive, and then you can use your strength to empower other women and children and people who are getting abused in whatever environment it may be.
And people didn't want to talk about it, Jacqui. They didn't. It was a shameful thing. In my day, it was just a shameful thing. So through the years, until now, it's been brought to the forefront. You know, we just didn't talk about it very much. It was just some horrible thing that happened.
And that's the thing, is the more awareness events that you attend, the more awareness events that you bring your friends and family to, you know, the more that the message gets out that it's not your fault, and there is something that you can do to help yourself and your loved ones get away and survive, because that is the goal, is to survive. And that's why I just think Stephanie's program of teaching. Now tell me about these combative warrior arts. That just sounds so exciting.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Whoa. Do I get to go walk? No.
Combative warrior arts hit every aspect of the wholeness of self-defense. So it's a practical take on realistic, being in the physical part, the flesh part, how to survive. It is not to be confused with martial arts or anything like that, where it's a sport, because this is straight up defense. No rules, no boundaries. You do what you have to do to defend yourself. But the most important thing is being aware of your surroundings, of yourself, knowing how to cover properly, protect the vital portions of your body so that you can get away properly. Yes, your face, this knockout thing that people are doing now, you know, for one, back to knowing your surroundings. It's okay to check things out every now and then behind you as you're walking forward.
And look underneath cars.
Looking underneath your car, I always approach my vehicle looking underneath. I drive a truck, so I look in the bed. You know, you've got to pay attention to these things. But while you're walking, we have our phones. We can always bring up that camera, look over our shoulder if you have a feeling something's happening.
Oh, very good. But did you hear that? Use your camera over your phone. If you feel somebody you can take their picture, forward that to a loved one, like, hey, Facebook it. Tell people there's a weirdo behind me.
It's in there, but it lets you know, is there really someone following? How long has this guy been back here? Do a different path. You know, a lot of times stalkers, they will watch you for months before they actually go into your home. So be aware.
Oh my gosh.
We can tend to people who travel a lot and things like that. We go in, we put our things down, we rest, we get back on the road and we go again. And it's easy to be in tunnel vision and not pay attention to and sometimes they'll leave subtle little hints here and there. They've moved a little something or done a little something, and we don't notice it.
Right.
So pay attention to things. And if there's one little thing out of sorts, you know you need to be aware. But having your proper protection, back to I started mentioning the knockout game, they're hitting people right here, and once you're hit here, you are pretty much done because you're either unconscious or dead. And when you're unconscious, you cannot get away, you cannot defend yourself. And so what I teach is how to properly protect your head, and to be aware and to still be able to get away, to use yourself in a position that people cannot come and grab you and carry you off or anything like that. So
now, where is this knockout thing happening? Because I have to admit,
it's mostly up in the northern states, but there have been a few cases in some of the southern states. I don't think it's made it here to Texas yet, but
that's horrible.
that is something. It's like amazing how violent our community has become more so, especially since the 70s when you were going through your experience. And that's the thing is that because of the violence that, you know, we're exposed to at a much higher rate than we used to be, say, in the 70s, this could be one of the factors that does contribute to more occurrences happening in the homes and in the streets randomly. I know for a while there was somebody laying underneath the cars in San Antonio Community College, and attacking the girls from underneath. That's why I was like, check underneath your car. I always check underneath my car. Always check to make sure I don't park next to a van with a sliding door. And if I do, then I'm definitely talking on the phone as I am approaching my vehicle, because it is so true. These terrible things do happen. So you definitely want to get in Stephanie's class. And you definitely want to come out on October 14th. Again, it's going to be at the Tri-Point Event Center. What is that close to on St. Mary's Street?
It used to be the old Albertson store, and it's the old Albertson store. So you just take exit St. Mary's, and it's right on the access road of 281 right there.
That is awesome. So between 6 and 9 on October 14th, you definitely want to get down there on St. Mary's at the old Albertson's facility that they've converted, and then you definitely want to get into Stephanie's classes. But Stephanie, how did you get inspired to start this?
Well, my dad was a door gunner in Vietnam, and being his oldest child and a girl at that, he had 2 girls. He thought we needed to learn how to protect ourselves. And when I was little, I kind of went through baby boot camp. Aww. And
so cute.
Baby boot camp.
But I remember at one time asking my dad, why do we have to do this all the time? And he said, you never know when you'll have to kill a grown man with your bare hands. And at that moment, to a 9-10-year-old girl, I'm like, really? I'm never going to need this. So I just put it way back in the back of my mind. I developed the mentality. We were talking about protecting our solace area. And so it was in my mind, I would never need this. No one's ever going to attack me. Nothing's ever going to happen. And I'm in high school, and got to a place where it's like, okay, I was a junior, and it was like, okay, you need to straighten your act up. You're going to graduate next year. You better bring your grades up. And, and I had brought everything up to a decent grade, except for math. So I hired a math tutor. And I did it on my own. I wanted to surprise my parents and have good grades. And one night, that's not what he wanted to do. And so I was raped. And I actually, to take my story farther, this is why I'm against abortion, is I found out just as I was kind of recovering from the shock of this happened to me, I found out I was pregnant. And I have an amazing, beautiful 23-year-old daughter who, she's such a miracle child. I mean, just all the way around. She's just awesome.
She's your angel.
She is.
My
and just
I believe that children are sent to us to be the angels for
blessing.
surviving what we had to go through before we had our
She's such a
children.
blessing.
That's
and
wonderful.
So, when people use that, and God protected this because I didn't find out I was pregnant until just like weeks before I had her.
Wow.
And
because you were so traumatized.
yes,
And you were so young.
I developed such shame in it. I couldn't speak about it. I told nobody anything. And I was a wild child, so my dad just kind of named off 3 people, and I went with the one he would least likely confront. And it's like, you believe what you want to believe and you feel good. And I kept it internal. So girls,
don't.
if anything happens, tell. Because
the truth will set you free.
Well, the truth will set you free, but there's healing that comes from that. But those guys need to get caught. They need to get locked up. And
Did
I
you
was
report him
so
at all?
ashamed. No. I was so ashamed because my dad had trained me, and I didn't take his advice. I didn't take that training. So later, when I was older, a friend of mine said, hey, self-defense really would be your thing. You have such a testimony. And so we researched schools, and I have been trained and certified through the Academy of Combative Warrior Arts out of Richland, Texas.
Great.
So,
and so now you're spreading your talent and helping people.
Yes, so that I can get to
that.
share my testimony and help not just physically train people, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and to help minister to the people that have been attacked so that they know they can come out of that strong and survivors, and to be able to share their testimony because, we're supposed to, these things happen and we get healed through sharing that with other people. And
that's the most important part. So that's why you have to put it in your phone, make the calendar event, put some alerts the day before, 2 days before, 2 hours before. It's going to be Tuesday, October 14th at the Tri-Point Event Center, 3233 North St. Mary's, and it's from 6 to 9 p.m. So the children will be invited as well, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
Not under 13.
Okay, so not under 13. So ask Nana, get a babysitter who you trust, and let them know I'm going to be gone for a few hours, and invite your neighbors, carpool, make it an event, and really bring your community together because these stories of shame should not be out there. We should empower each other to be able to speak up when something happens, because just burying it will come out in different ways throughout your lifetime. And that's not just to your own soul, your own heart, your own mind, your own spirit. And so that's the thing is that, tell me about how you work with the children, the little ones.
The children, I have an anti-bully program for children.
Cute.
And so we really hit hard. There's always the physical aspect of self-defense, but I feel like it goes so much deeper. And so we really do a lot of encouragement. We teach a lot of leadership skills and really try to bring them up to be confident in themselves, because the kids that are bullied, that are picked on, it's the kids that are not confident. It's the kids whose parents are not involved with their lives, that are,
distracted.
not going. And exactly. And so we really want to build them up. Parents are required. One, it doesn't have to be both, but one parent is required to be a part of the anti-bully
I
program.
love Mommy and Me.
Yes,
There's never
exactly.
enough Mommy and Me's for me.
Because what we
great.
have found is if you just drop a kid off, there's not going to be that link when you get home to, hey.
Amen.
But when you're there, the parents are involved, and so they actually go home and practice, and they hold one another accountable, and it is fun. You enjoy it. And so right afterwards, we have the ladies program.
Oh, I love that. And now tell me about the hair challenge.
The hair challenge, yes. So I don't know if y'all can see this or not, but purple is the domestic violence color. And so we kicked off a challenge on October 1st to kind of like the ALS challenge, only this is a hair challenge, and you color your hair purple. It can either be full purple, it can be just little extensions.
Oh, cute.
It can be permanent, it can be, mine is semi-permanent. I wasn't sure how the color would go with my skin. So
that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful, I love it.
And so I think I'm going to actually add more. I did decide I liked it. But
it really is fun. I think I'm going to do purple on one side and pink on the other because it's also
yes,
breast cancer.
Yes.
I'm kind of a pink girl. I don't know if you noticed it.
Yes. And so now everyone has been challenged officially. So show up to the event and
it's official.
Yes.
That is the official challenge.
Yes.
And have your purple and bring a friend. Definitely.
Bring a friend. Bring all your friends.
Yes.
Tell them we have to make this event. It's going to be super huge. October 14th at the Tri-Point Event Center, 3233 North St. Mary's and 78212 if you are putting that in your GPS. The time will be from 6 to 9 p.m. So it will be in the evening, so after school. Remember, if your children are 13 and under, please find a nana or somebody safe to leave your children with so that you can attend, because you are going to hear stories and you will be able to relate. Hopefully it's not on you personally, but you'll be able to hear, you know what, I had a friend who was going through that, and you'll be able to understand what is really going on in that mental psyche. And you probably think, why doesn't my friend just leave? It's not that easy. It's not just about being done, and there are resources out there that will help you mentally, spiritually, physically. And if you come out to this event, then you will definitely be able to hear about all those resources, because the more you know, the more you can empower others, just like these lovely ladies are out here telling us their stories today and are going to be donating their time. The speakers, there will be the Bexar County Sheriff, we have an attorney at law, and we also have the president CEO of the Family Violence Preventative Services. So many resources and stories are going to be shared, so I cannot push it enough. Definitely, if you have the purple ink in your hair dye color, call your favorite hairstylist. Mine is Dominic. Hi, Dominic. Get the purple ready for me. Because you are challenged. Do the hair challenge, and this way you'll be able to be identifiable with other people in your community. Like, hey, they're sensitive to this issue. I might be going through it. My friend, my mother, my sister might be going through it. My children might be going through it, because bullying happens even in the schools. And so even if it's not a person in the house, your children may be being susceptible to it. So you definitely want to find Stephanie of the Strongtower Self-Defense. And Stephanie, tell them your number.
512-517-4818.
And that's the thing, is you can also go on strongtowerselfdefense.com, and we'll be putting that on the byline of the show as well. So, and again, remember the Pink Ring Club. Thank you so much to Darling Romo for bringing this event to my attention. I love the Pink Ring, I'm a Pink Ring fan. And thank you all so much for coming out. Miss Shirley Swift, please remember, find her on Amazon, find her in the bookstores, and if you can't afford the book at this time, go to the San Antonio Public Library and demand that you get her book, The Miracle Survivor. Yes, because she's going to tell you about all these things that she experienced and how she was touched and healed, and you can be touched and healed as well. And Stephanie, thank you so much. I look forward to having some kid programs so Mommy and Me can come out. People are always asking us at Smash and Jacqi's New Fitness for Mommy and Me programs, so we're going to work on bringing that out here too. So thank you so much. Again, if you've been watching us on our YouTube channel, remember to hit the subscribe button on the Silver Fox Multimedia Studio channel. And if you're watching us on our Facebook page, either the Silver Silver Fox Studio or the SA Talk Today. Remember to hit like and share. Until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.